string tune. City lights glow under a bourbon moon. The gateway whispers, you know the way. Blues Digest calls, let the night replay. Blues Digest, feel the thunder roll. Electric heart with a rebel soul. Blues Digest, where the stories collide. Drop the beat, let the rhythm ride. Echoes of a legend in every chord, from the alley shadows to the rink's reward. Six-string scream, a ghostly
Everything is about to change for the St. Louis Blues as a new season is about to start, and we have a bunch of storylines to get to in this very first live stream on Blues Digest. Thank you, everyone. Your support has been unbelievable on the channel, and that's the reason that this is happening. A pre-game show for the first time ever right before the Blues kick off their season. We're going to get to a lot of different questions. We're going to get to your questions in the chat. There's a bunch of you in here already. But Mark, let's get right into it. Lots to get to. The Blues are finally kicking off this season. Are you excited? This is going to be a very fun season, I think. And again, we're going to get to some stuff in a bit. And an update on Justin Carbonneau. I'll tease it right now because it's unbelievable. We'll get to it. But are you excited for this season?
I mean, I've been hyped up since that game 7. This is a Blues team. We've seen how good they can play last year. Going into this year, the new faces added Mayu, Pius Suter. There's so many guys, even Nick Bukestad. I cannot wait for the season to kick off. And Darius, I think this is going to be a special one.
Absolutely. It's going to be a lot of fun. And guys, this is not a pre-recording. We are live right now. It is 6 o'clock Central Time, an hour before the game is going to kick off against the Minnesota Wild. Very exciting. We can see all of your comments in real time, so leave us some questions. Madrix, we see you. Season time, baby. Booch, 75-point season loading. That is from W. Raven Blood says, go Blues. And Thomas, 100 assist season is here. That is a very interesting prediction off the bat. And we're going to get to a lot of those as this stream goes on. One thing I want to start with, Mark, is something that's already happened tonight. That is Justin Carbonneau scored 2 goals in, what was it? What did you say? 40 seconds or something like that for the Armada tonight against the Newfoundland Regiment.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is Carbonneau is going to tear apart the queue. We're seeing it 41 seconds, I think, into the game. He scores his first goal and immediately scores again. Everything this kid is doing, we've seen in the preseason. We've seen in training camp. We wish he stayed, but I think the development, he might honestly, Darius, score 100 goals at this rate. What he is doing is magical, and it's only a matter of time until we actually get him into a St. Louis jersey for a full season.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be a lot of fun to see him eventually in that jersey. But one thing that's going to be a lot of fun to see is him absolutely rip apart the QMJHL this year. It's going to be a lot of fun. And 40 seconds, it was the same shift. And they were winning 3-0 within the first 4 minutes. And the regiment, shout out to the Newfoundland Regiment. I almost called them St. John's Regiment. But the Newfoundland Regiment, shout out to them. They're a pretty good team. They're actually top of the division, or top half of the division. So lots of fun there. Justin Carbonneau, to follow him this season, that should be a lot of fun. Let us know in the chat what you think about Justin Carbonneau, and let us know when you think he's going to make the team, because I think he's really close. He scored a couple goals in the preseason, ultimately sent back. He's going to score 1 billion goals this year in the QMJHL, so that should be fun. And just wanted to read this comment from Ryan Green. He said, appreciate you guys doing Blues content as there's quite a lack of it for the club. Keep it up. That's why we're doing it. And your support, again, I said it before a couple minutes ago, I'll say it again, is the reason we do this. Blues fans, we love you guys. Like, this has been unbelievable. We started making Blues content, I guess, in the playoffs, leading into the playoffs, because obviously it was a big series. And, it's been a lot of fun, guys. And, covering the Blues through the offseason, all the moves they've made. I know you're a big fan, Mark, of Pius Suter, who is now the third-line center for your St. Louis Blues. So it should be a lot of fun. And, David saying, I say Holloway scores 30 goals this season as long as he stays healthy. I think, sky's the limit for Dylan Holloway. Mark, what do you think of Dylan Holloway? We can, touch on that. I think he's going to be at least a point a game player this year. He's going to be a lot of fun to watch, honestly.
I mean, the biggest thing is it continuously goes back to the fumble the Edmonton Oilers had. We thank them every day for what we got, but I think Dylan Holloway is special. We've seen him have his breakout season. We kind of seen it with the Oilers in the playoffs, but last year was truly special. Obviously, didn't get to see him in the playoffs for the Blues, but going into this season, we've seen Monty go out to say, hey, he already looks midseason form, and this was what, game 2-3 of the preseason?
Yeah.
So I'm expecting a huge year coming through with him. Broberg's going to be incredible, and maybe even a top defenseman in the NHL. We see his speed burst. We know the offensive output. He's a bigger body. I'm excited for two of these guys in particular. Pew Suter, who you brought up as well, I am a huge fan of, and I think is going to have a career year, maybe even 25 to 30 goals again. But I truly do think this Blues team is slowly doing something special, and I think Dylan Holloway might shock a lot of people. And listen, that's already hard with the season we've seen him have, but I would not be shocked if we're seeing a point per game player out of him this year.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked, the point of game player. The real question, I have it up on screen here, is how many points does Dylan Holloway score this year? What do you guys think? I'm thinking at least like 83 personally. I've been saying it all summer. So something around that area in terms of goals, David's saying 30 goals right now. I think that'd be interesting. You'd have to put up a lot of points, and Kyrou's going to be on that line as well to score some goals. We know Braden Shen's going to, chip in at center as well. And that line, we've been talking about it, the last couple of weeks. And Mark, you brought it up, a couple of videos ago. That line's going to be a killer line, man. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. So it's going to be fun. And shout out to Sage in the comments right now, or in the chat. He's in the Enterprise Center right now, getting ready for the game, and he's watching this live stream. So shout out to you, man. That is awesome. Appreciate that. You're at the game and you're watching this right now. That's hilarious. I love that. So shout out to you. That is brilliant. And I hope you enjoy the game. So, home opener should be a lot of fun against, Kaprizov. That's a big storyline as well. So lots of fun there. Blues win, and I'll sub. Might anyway, but let me have my fun. I tell you what. If you sub, the Blues will win. How does that sound? I think that's probably how that actually works. So hit that subscribe button. If you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening with the St. Louis Blues all season long, we're going to have you guys covered. We're going to do some pregame shows. We're going to do a lot of fun stuff on the channel this year. We're big fans of the Blues here, and Jordan Binnington, my favorite goaltender in the league, at least right now. He was a lot of fun to watch last night. They didn't play last night. But Mark, a couple other things to get to. What do you make of that second and third line? They're, looking like they're going to be a lot of fun to watch. We know kind of what we're going to get, we think, out of that first line. I think Robert Thomas is going to have a really, really good year, and he has a chip on his shoulder. He's going to want to perform well. He has eyes on him for the Olympics, right? That's a big thing. So he wants to make that Olympic team. And he's going to get that opportunity, and there could be some injuries. So what do you make of a guy like, Robert Thomas, first of all, and then that second and third line? Most notably that third line. We already touched on the second line and have been for the last couple of videos. But, what do you make of all of that?
I mean, the first thing is Robert Thomas. I think the biggest thing is we're seeing him progress as a player every season. He's not a guy that's going to go out and kind of stop and halter at 60 points, 70 points. We're going to see him progress. He's going to have a 100-point season at some point. This could be this year. Snuggerud looked great with him, so getting a full 82 games with him as well, I think is going to boost both of their productions with the Olympics as well. I think Binnington is a guy to watch with this as well. We know he wants to be the starter for Canada going into the Olympics, so he has a lot to prove to that management group. Now, having Doug Armstrong being a part of it obviously is going to help a tiny bit, but going into the second and third line, I do listen. We've seen Pew Suter play great on the second line, but I do think getting in a guy like Shen there, we've seen analytically how good they were last year. We've seen how good they can produce. So I think knowing that Suter works there and putting Shen back is the right move. And I do truly think that third line is going to shock a lot of people. Listen, Pew Suter's great defensively. He's going to score you 20 plus goals. Yep. He's going to do everything. Might not be the fastest player, but you don't need speed when you have Joseph on your right wing and Neighbors on your left. So I think this third line as a whole is going to play great. I think the top line is going to be outstanding once again. And I do think the second line is going to continue dominating. And the fourth line's nothing to scoff at either.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fourth line, very physical, right? Walker, we've been talking about that. Sundqvist will probably maybe make his way onto that line. We don't know exactly where he's going to be in the lineup once he eventually returns from injury in a couple of weeks. He's going to have to work his way back. But, you got Bukestad there. Like, that's a really good piece we were talking about through the summer where, that's some nice work by Doug Armstrong to bring in a guy that has experience, has played in the playoffs, can put up points, but he's going to be playing a different role. And he's a big body. The Blues are going to be a hard team to play against, right? So that's going to be a lot of fun to watch, just to see them frustrate other teams at this point throughout the season. I have it up on screen as well. Who do you guys think will lead the Blues in scoring this season? My guess is probably Robert Thomas, but could be some surprising answers in the chat. That'll be a lot of fun. And I do want to get to a couple of things here in the chat. Ravenblood is saying, will there be any trades? And I'm going to throw this over to you, Mark, first, because I have some thoughts on this as well. But will there be any trades? And I want to get into the lineup for tonight as well, because that's an interesting storyline. So we're going to touch on that stuff as well. But will there be any trades during the season or at the trade deadline for salary cap space, to free up salary cap space, to give extension dollars to Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg? They're going to command a lot of money. Let's be honest. They're due for massive extensions, especially with the cap going up. So do you think there's going to be any trades at the deadline to actually just flush out money? Because we were talking about, I think yesterday on one of our episodes, that, they might actually acquire a player at the deadline, right? And that seems like the opposite. So what's your take on that? Do you think they're actually going to send money out to kind of, set them up? The salary cap's going up a lot anyway in the off season, but what do you think of that? That could be interesting too. They also have LTIR space, but that doesn't count in the off season. So you have to take that into consideration as well.
And I think, first off, I want to say with the lead-in score, it's obviously going to be Justin Falk on the blue line.
Right,
no, but in all seriousness, it's probably going to be Robert Thomas coming through, leading the way. Holloway might sneak in. But going into the trades, we know they have a couple pieces. Joseph's and Texier's contracts were kind of thrown around a lot in trade talks this offseason. Joseph stole the show and got straight into the third line. But once this Blues team finally gets healthy and we see Sonny get back in, maybe that's still a contract that might move out. But going into these deals on Holloway and Broberg, making room for them, I don't know if the Blues are going to panic too much. They have a couple of contracts. They can still move on from Falk next season if they want to. And I think the biggest thing is the cap's going to jump almost 10 mil a season. So if you're locking two of these guys up, you might have to tinker with some money. Yep. But I wouldn't be shocked if Doug Armstrong went out and said, hey, we're going to get a player that maybe has a year or two left on his deal or a full rental heading into the playoffs, especially if this Blues team is as hot to start the year as we seen last year. What was that, a 15-game win streak? The biggest thing is, I think a lot hinges on going into the Olympics, and I think if they're in a good spot, Doug is not going to be afraid to say, hey, let's get a big hoorah. This is my final year as GM. He's going to stay as president, but I could see the Blues shocking a lot of people with the amount of moves they make.
Absolutely. And I think that they're going to be active and they have the opportunity to be active. That's just kind of my, read on the situation as the season goes on. I actually do think, and a lot of you guys have been commenting this through the summer, I've noticed that a lot of people don't think Justin Falk will make it through the season as a St. Louis Blue. Like, he'll eventually be traded. And I think I mentioned in a video last week, maybe we see him on that second pairing with Broberg at some point. He's been working on his defensive game. I'm not saying he's, amazing defensively. He's also a rookie at the NHL level to a degree. This is his first full season, starting a season with the team. But I think that's going to be very interesting to keep an eye on in terms of, who they send out and if they want to, continue to get younger on the blue line. I really like that final pairing, that third pairing of Tyler Tucker and Logan Mailloux. We were talking about that earlier. If you didn't check out our video, check it out after this if you have some time before the game starts, because, we were kind of talking about how Tyler Tucker was saying that Mailloux is a bit of a rat, and I feel like just like they kind of both are, which is funny, but they have different skill sets as well, and they complement each other, I think, really well on that third pairing. So that'll be a lot of fun to watch as well. David's asking now, do you guys see Holloway and Broberg getting 8-year deals? I'm going to get to some other comments as well too, but I just saw that one pop up and I think that's very topical for what we were just talking about. But do you see, Mark, do you see them getting both 8-year deals? I think one of them is more likely to sign long-term than the other, and I'll get into it right now. I think Holloway is going to take a shorter-term deal to maximize how much he makes in his career, because he is a great offensive player, and we're seeing it now. Really came alive with the Edmonton Oilers before, for some reason they decided to get rid of him. But now, not, it's St. Louis Blues problem, I guess, but and a good problem to have. But you got to figure that out. But I think he takes a shorter term deal. I think Broberg's maybe more likely to sign long term. That's just my read on it. But ultimately, I think that I don't see them both signing 8-year deals.
And I think that's the big thing. I mean, Holloway seems like the type of guy, he knows he can progressively get better when it comes to the offensive numbers, and Broberg can as well. But a lot of these forwards are going outside in the short term. Connor McDavid's a bit of an exception, as we've seen the insane deal that he gave to the Oilers, but still a short 2-year deal. So I could see Dylan Holloway and maybe even the Blues management saying, hey, go through a full healthy season for 2 to 3 years with us, show that you consistently keep this up, prove that you're a star in this league, and then we'll give you even more money. But I do think Broberg seems like the type of guy, solidified defenseman. He's still quite young. He can work his way into being a number one. There's no better spot than St. Louis to do that. So maybe you do get a 6 to 7 year deal with him, but I would not be shocked if Dylan Holloway and his camp's like, hey, we'd rather maybe a 2 to 3 year deal, come back once the salary cap's up, what, $30 million, and then start asking for more. But I think the way we're seeing these contracts, we're going to see some crazy stuff. I mean, Kaprizov, now obviously it's going to show that he's not worth that after the Blues shut him out tonight. But I do think there is a world where we're going to start seeing some insane deals that feel like they're almost too much.
Yeah, I think we're going to start seeing some crazy money thrown around. Connor McDavid is, you can't use that example because that is just insane what he did the other day. So he just wants to win, but you can't use his contract and line it up against anyone else or use it as a projection or anything like that. So that's unfortunate. But you see guys like Eichel signing for big money, right? Like Holloway, if he's a point a game player or a little bit more, he's going to command a lot of money. Broberg's one of the best young defensemen in the league. So that's going to be interesting to see. But I don't see them on long-term deals, but we'll be following it. That is for sure. And I mean, like, after making a couple really good moves at on July 1st and the days that followed, Doug Armstrong went fishing this year, right? Like, he went on a little bit of a vacation. Things were pretty quiet. He went fishing. But I think next summer and heading into next summer, he's going to be really busy. He's going to continue to try and help build up this team, sign guys to long-term contracts or contracts that make sense for the team, and start handing off, the keys, not the entire set of keys, but one key at a time over to Alex Steen, which will be a lot of fun to watch as well. I want to get into this from Ryan Green. He said, I think Bolduc may have a much higher skill ceiling than Mayu, which could be true. I think I could possibly agree with that. He's going to be a good player for Montreal. But what do you think we need to see out of Mayu for the fans and the Blues administration to not experience buyer's remorse? Personally, I think you need to see a guy that is going to quarterback the power play, right? That's a big thing, right? That is what he is. That is his skill set. That's what he was going to be for the Montreal Canadiens if they held on to him. So that you need offense out of him. But I think you need him to be responsible or show signs that, he's at least going to grow into a responsible defensive defenseman as well. And I don't mean just defensive defenseman. I mean, like, just being a responsible guy that's not like Erik Karlsson sometimes, where you're like, oh my goodness, you watch his highlights and you're like, this is great offensively, but what is happening in the defensive zone? So that's what I think. Like, I just at least responsible. You don't have to be the best defensive defenseman, but putting up points and great in transition, moving the puck, stuff like that, very quick and get it up the ice quickly, good in transition, those types of things. That's just the way I see it. But Mark, what's your take on that? Because I think, honestly, I think it was a great trade for both sides, right? Montreal got something they needed, and I think the Blues needed to get younger and some more skill on the blue line.
I think the big thing is first going into Mayu as a player. I think he just needs to show that he is an NHL player. This could be a sixth defenseman, a fifth defenseman, a fourth defenseman, whatever it is. I think he needs to consistently show this management group that, hey, I can continue to progress in this league. I deserve to be in the league. We've seen he got his first apartment after we've seen all these quotes come through. I do think he's going to come in as an NHL defenseman. He's going to progress. Listen, there's going to be some rookie mistakes. There's going to be lapses where we would look at him and say, what is he doing? But I do think he's going to turn into a good player. And I think going into Doug's kind of thoughts on this, they have so many forward prospects. I mean, you're looking at Justin Carbonneau. You're looking at Dvorsky. You can go down a list of 50 people. Otto Stenberg. These guys are so close to being NHL ready. I think they needed to say, hey, our forwards are our best prospects, so let's bring in a defenseman and still have our forwards ready to jump into this lineup at any point or over the next year or two. So I think it's a win-win trade, but I think their current mold of this Blues team, I think it makes more sense to kind of put all your eggs into a defenseman.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know that they, a big thing in the summer we were talking about is they have to get younger on the blue line. Not just for the sake of getting younger. You need to get younger and more skill back there, right? Because you're getting rid of Nick Leddy, for example, who, is on the tail end of his career. And you needed to get some more skill, some more speed in there, maybe more tenacity, right? And we know Tyler Tucker was on the way, but I think Logan Mailloux has a much a higher ceiling. It's just the fact of the matter. So I think he'll be really good. But again, he also has to prove himself at the NHL level. That's going to be exciting to watch too, because he's done some really good things at the AHL level. And I actually got the chance to watch him live, and I think it was probably the worst game he's ever played in his life. Ironically, the game I went to, he was absolutely brutal, but if you look at the entire sample size in the AHL, he has been really good. So that was unfortunate that I saw that game. The whole Laval Rocket team that game was just awful, but that was a lot of fun to experience and to watch, to see him play live, and then ultimately traded over to the Blues. So that's fun. But I think there's some interesting storylines, and I think when you look at the lineup, you brought up a good point too. Bolduc was kind of stuck there on the third line, and maybe he can move up to the second line. He's going to be the second liner for the Montreal Canadiens, but he was kind of stuck in the Blues lineup because Holloway has that spot now. And you look at the wings on the Blues, like they're really filled out, and even the center position depth right now as well. And then when you look at Springfield, you brought up a couple guys like Otto Stenberg, you got Dvorsky, who when they eventually make the NHL will probably be wingers anyway. So you have this crazy logjam. So you're looking at a player like Bolduc who has a great high ceiling. He's a young player, and you're looking at the Canadiens and they want a player like that, and you go, hey, they can help us on the back end because they have too many defensemen. I think it's a good deal, right? And you get a guy that he's starting tonight, he's playing in the NHL. I think that's a good deal, right? So I think ultimately for both sides should be good. Neil saying that he thinks Tucker surprises people, scores 10 goals and 18 assists. That would be a pretty significant jump. He's going to be playing more regularly, so maybe that confidence is going to come up. He's a feisty player too. The other thing I forgot to mention with Logan Mailloux, because somebody brought it up, I'm going to look for it here. Darkness said that Torrey Krug, that type of player in Logan Mailloux, but obviously a right shot player. That's an interesting comparable for sure, but let's not forget Logan Mailloux, 6'3", and does have that physical ability. So any final thoughts on that before we move on to another topic, Mark? Because I think the blue line looks pretty good. There's not too many weaknesses on this team in theory heading into this year, especially with the way that they ended last season. You have a great coach. The goaltending solidified. You upgraded the defense in my eyes, but you do have some younger pieces. We'll see what the consistency looks like there. But the forward group is way better in my eyes. So, sky's the limit for this team. I think they make the playoffs and in a divisional spot.
And I think the big thing is, too, we're looking at this team going into game one. This is going to change a bunch. We're going to see new faces, guys from Springfield, everything in between. But once again, going back to Doug Armstrong, I think he's going to be active. This is a team that, yes, you have Nick Bukestad coming in on the fourth line. I love him playing next to Walker. I like the fact Joseph is there. Sonny can step in once he's back from his injury. But wouldn't it even shock you if he didn't go out and say, hey, there's the second line center that's on a last year of a deal. Maybe he's a bit older. Bring him in. We've seen Brad Marchand go to the Florida Panthers. Look how that turned out. Maybe guys like this are going to start coming to St. Louis. St. Louis might not get the biggest free agent, but I think they have enough assets to go get someone. We know the city is awesome when the players got there. Dylan Holloway says he loves the place. He's happy to be somewhere that wants him. It seems like he wants to stay with this franchise. So I think going out, bringing in talent, I think the Blues are on the verge of something huge at the end of the day. But they also got these young guys, and the defense is getting bigger. They're still quite young. Everything is, Darius, I just can't get over. I'm giddy on how good this team is going to be. And we're so close to game time, which is awesome too.
Yeah, and this is going to be a good clash too, because, Minnesota has high expectations this year. Kirill Kaprizov, in terms of the matchup, just signed that contract extension. He's going to be buzzing around. So, it's a good test for this Blues team. And again, on paper, we need to see them on the ice, but on paper, there's a lot of the same players that were here at the end of last year, right? So that's good news, I think, with the way that it ended. And I think that series also looks different to me if Holloway's not hurt. Let's not forget about that, right? So that would have been a huge difference maker in my eyes. And Carp is saying that health will also dictate a lot of who is expected to do what on the blue line. Dudes playing out of position all season last year because guys couldn't stay healthy. That's a big thing too. Now you're younger. You're expecting a lot of the guys to be healthy. Like you mentioned, you got Broberg there. Like that first pairing, obviously a little bit older, but they were awesome last year. You got Broberg, young guy. The bottom pairing is young, right? Like, love a lot of what I'm seeing, especially on paper. We just have to see it on the ice and this season. So that'll be a lot of fun to watch. And a lot of people think Tyler Tucker will surprise. And do you think, this is from Sage, who's in the building right now, shout out to Sage, do you think Krug will be back, and are we fine without him? in my opinion, I don't think Krug will be back. I think that his career is done at this point. And even if he was healthy enough to return from whatever he's dealing with, obviously it's a complicated injury and only a few athletes, I believe, from what I saw, have dealt with that. But if you were healthy enough to return, if you're off from playing hockey for that many years at this point, it is hard to come back. So I think his career is done at this point. And will they be fine without him? Yes, absolutely. Of course, he was a big part of this team, right? Like, no doubt about it. But yes, I do believe they'll be fine without him. But any thoughts on that, Mark? Because I do want to get to something and some surprises as well. So, any thoughts on that? Because yes, he was a big part of the team, but, he's been gone for a year now. And, I think that they will be okay without him.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, listen, Krug being back at 100% would be awesome to add to the blue line. He's a dynamic player, but I do think he's going to end up either retiring or just finishing out the contract. Maybe he joins the Blues in some type of management role. It would be awesome to keep him around the team, but I do think if the team is hurting without having him, if they need something to replace him, they still have his cap space to go out and pick up a player. Now, listen, getting a player like Krug is hard. He's a 1 in a million. I mean, the size of him, the offensive output, everything he did, but I do think the Blues are going to be fine. They added a guy like Logan Mailloux, who's just a bigger version of it, obviously younger and less experienced, but I do expect the blue line to be fine, and if they need to make a trade, I could still see them going out to make a trade for a veteran defenseman or even claim someone on waivers.
Definitely. And I think that, they're using his cap space to their advantage right now that the season's on, right? Because he gives LTIR relief as well. But, hopefully he's okay on a personal note, right? I hope the guy's okay, of course, but, continues to progress, and I hope he's healthy. But to come back to the team at this point, I think would be very difficult for him, for the team, all of these different factors. So, hopefully he's okay, but I think that's it. But one other thing I want to get to, and Neil brings it up, there's positive vibes coming from the dressing room. A lot of the guys, a lot of the comments we've been covering on the channel from some of the players and how they're speaking about other players. Vibes seem to be up. Jim Montgomery is getting the guys going, right? Like they seem to be ready to go. So that's going to be a lot of fun to watch as well. See a lot of crazy trade rumors in the chat as well, so appreciate that stuff. But Lucic, let's touch on that, because it's a topic of conversation. Nobody's going to really forget about him because he's hanging around. He's hurt right now. He got hurt in preseason. He was on a PTO. Usually, and everybody who's been watching the videos lately knows how I feel about this, but usually you would release a guy from a PTO if that were to happen. But for some particular reason, he's sticking around with the organization. They're going to continue to monitor it, help him get healthy, stuff like that. Before I go any further, Sage with the first ever super chat on the channel. We're going to get a better animation going. So full disclosure, I made this very quickly, but we're going to get a better one going as we continue to stream here on the channel. But the first super chat in Blues Digest history. Thank you very much, Sage. In the building, in the Enterprise Center right now and watching on stream. We appreciate it. $5 from Sage. We appreciate it. And you guys are fueling us to continue to do this, to continue to break down the Blues every single day for you guys, and we're going to continue to do it all throughout the season. So awesome stuff, and opening ceremony is starting, so please enjoy that, Sage. We're going to wrap up here in a little bit as well, but yeah, I did want to get to obviously Lucic to get back to that. For some particular reason, he's kind of sticking around with the team. They're going to extend his PTO. There's an ATO kind of in the mix now. Like, there's a lot of rumors about that. They might hang on to him in the AHL. Mark, what do you make of that? To me, cut ties at this point. It doesn't look like he belongs in the NHL. I get the whole having him around thing, but just have him as like a part of management or something. Like, give him a role where he can, consult certain players about, this is how you need to play. I want a Stanley Cup, rah, 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 stuff like that, right? So what do you make of that situation?
I think at the end of the day, getting Lucic in would be kind of fun. There is aspects he brings to the game. He's hard-nosed. He's going to hit people in the corners. He's going to fight anyone that steps in the way. But I do think with him slowing down, obviously he scored in the preseason, was awesome to see. But I think this is kind of leading back to, listen, Jim has a bit of ties from him with the Boston Bruins. We're seeing Doug Armstrong give him a chance, but it wouldn't shock me if one of two things happens, or I should say three things. Sent to the AHL to work with the young guys, maybe signed to a second PTO, and a team's kind of looking at him, and this gives him the leverage to go somewhere else. And maybe this is the thank you from Doug just going out to help this kind of preseason. But I also think there is a realm, and we've kind of talked about it a bunch, that he moves into a development role, a management role. Maybe he stays with the team, signs 55 straight PTO shows and just continues practicing with the team. But I do kind of like him being around the team. I'm not sure if he's an everyday NHL player, but I think there are a couple games. Listen, you're playing the Blackhawks, sure, throw him in, let him just kind of run at a few guys, scare him. But I do kind of like him around. But at the end of the day, I'd almost rather use the roster spot on maybe a pickup out of waivers or even a guy come trade deadline.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't understand it. It's a little confusing to me, especially at this point. Like, I get bringing him into camp on a PTO. I 100% I understand, right? But then you watch the videos from practice like we were, you watch him in the games and you're like, I don't know about this. And then he gets hurt and they're still keeping him around. It's interesting. It's definitely interesting, and we'll continue to monitor it as we go. Last thing I want to bring up before we wrap up here is, and this is a comment and this kind of plays into tonight and we'll preview tonight from Brock. The 2019 team was relentless and they won the Stanley Cup, and there were just a bunch of guys. Yes, there was skill on the team, but a bunch of guys that just went to work, right? And they were going to outwork you, and that's why they won. He wants to see, or they want to see, this team develop its identity early. What exactly is this team's identity? When I look at it, on paper, because they've added a few new players, to me, I do believe they're going to be a very difficult team to play against. Every time you're thinking about, man, we got St. Louis on the schedule, you're going to be like, man, we got to play the Blues, because they're going to beat you up for the most part. They're going to be hard to play against, but they also have some skill. And I think that's going to be very, very good when you look at the rest of the league and the division that they're in. And not just the division, the conference that they're in, right? So you need some of that. So that second line is going to be buzzing around, but they're also heavy with Braden Shen. Like, I just think this team is going to be hard to play against. If they get away from that, then I don't necessarily know what the identity is, but we're going to find out what it is, and it starts tonight. But Mark, what do you make of that? What do you think this team's identity is? They got younger, they got more skilled, they got deeper down the middle, right? I think they're just going to be a hard team to play against that also has some speed and some skill.
And I think the big thing is you're looking at a lot of teams around the NHL. They have their top two lines stacked up with players. They're going out to score. The third line's more of a shutdown defensive line with a grinder fourth line. But I think the Blues have three solid lines that can go out against any competition with some defensive edge. We have Pius Suter, Shen. All these guys can play great defensively, but the wingers are going to go out, including Robert Thomas. I mean, a center that's going to do everything. But I think every one of the 9 forwards are going to go out and cause havoc. Teams aren't going to say, hey, we'll put our best offensive line against this second line because it doesn't matter. But I think the Blues are going to hurt people by throwing hits, but also scoring a lot of goals, a lot of greasy goals. And the fourth line's another line where we see Nick Buchnev put up, 45 points just 2 years ago with Arizona. You added Nathan Walker, who was outstanding during the postseason last year, the Aussie from down under. I think the team as a whole, the identity is going to kind of be, hey, you're not going to outwork us, and you're also not going to outscore us. So you're going to have to try to get into our game, and I think it puts the Blues in favor.
And if you try to outscore us, we got Jordan Binnington in net, so you're probably not going to score, right? So I think this team's in a really, really good position. I want to preview the lines tonight. This is from Puckpedia. I'm going to bring it up here and make it a little bit bigger for you guys here. But we'll start with the offense here, Mark. And it's, essentially what we thought it was going to be at this point. You got Thomas up the middle. You got Buchnevich on the left, Snuggerud on the right. Second line is basically the same from last year. You got Holloway, Shen, Kyrou. Third line, Neighbors, Suter, Joseph. I feel like that's going to actually be a nightmare for some teams, honestly. And then Torpchenko, Bukestad, and Nathan Walker on the right. And then on the defense, to bring this up, obviously Jordan Binnington will be in the net. You got Kampffeller, you got Parayko, Broberg, Justin Falk, Tyler Tucker, Logan Mailloux. That's how the St. Louis Blues line up tonight against the Minnesota Wild. So any final thoughts on the lineup? Anything in particular for this season, Mark, before I wrap up here? We'll let everyone get to the opening ceremonies and obviously the game itself, but it's looking like it's going to be a very exciting season for this Blues team.
Well, first off, I just want to ask any Blues fans watching, what do you think the score of this game is going to be? Is it going to be a blowout in the favor of St. Louis? Is it going to be close? But going back into the lines, I really like this. As we've talked about, Shen going to the second line, we know how good this line is. The top line's dominant. The third line's a new look. The fourth line looks good as well. I think every aspect of this team is looking stronger and deeper. They're building off what they did last year. Listen, a Game 7 loss does hurt, but for a team that no one really expected to get to that point against the President's Trophy, against the fraud and Connor Hellebuck, this is a team that's going to continuously get better as they age, as they add new talent, as the young guys get through. This team is going to do something special, and I truly think we're going to see a 2019 run minus the being the worst team in the league, all the way to winning the Stanley Cup. I think they're going to prove a lot of people wrong, and it all starts with a game that starts in what, 24 minutes?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that, one thing that proving a lot of people wrong, I think that's going to be the identity of this team this year. Let's be honest, just like you just said, because I've been seeing so many projections out there from analysts, from fans of other teams. They have the Blues on the outs, like not even just outside the playoffs, like well outside the playoffs. And that is absolutely insane to me because of what this team was last year at the end of the year and how many pieces they added at the end, right? So, or sorry, in the offseason this year. So should be a lot of fun. I see a lot of people saying 4-2 Blues. There's 3-4-2 Blues. So that'll be a lot of fun. And Mark, I'll throw it over to you and the chat. Let us know in the chat. Who's going to score the first goal for the St. Louis Blues this season, Mark? Who is going to score the first goal? And hopefully there is a goal scored this game.
My actual answer would be Nathan Walker, but it would be kind of funny to see a guy like, I don't know, Fowler step up. Not Fowler. We know how good he is, but Justin Falk would be kind of funny as we've seen the kind of hate. Listen, he is a veteran. He can add talent. Has he slowed down? Yes, a tiny bit, but he used to have a clapper at one point. So maybe even someone we're not expecting. I think a Nathan Walker, let's say at the Aussie, is going to open the scoring for us.
I always like the off the board ones because, there's when you look around the league, right? It's like the Penguins started opening night and people are like, oh, Sidney Crosby's going to score first. Like, probably not. Let's be honest, right? So I always like the off the board ones. And I'm going to go with Logan Mailloux. Starting the season off very strong. He's going to get the first goal from the Blues from the point. Might be an ugly one, just floating it through traffic, but that's what I'm seeing. And Brock saying Broberg. A lot of people are saying it's coming from the defense. Logan Mailloux makes a statement today and scores a goal today. That's from Darkness. Snuggie scores the first goal from Matt. We got another Snuggeroo from Neil. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. We'll let you guys watch the opening ceremony and get to it. It's going to be a very exciting season for the Blues. But, we're not going to go away. We're going to see you guys tomorrow. We're going to have some more content coming out tomorrow based on what happens tonight. Hopefully it's a big win, starting the season off on the right foot. I think that's a big thing for the Blues this year as well, Mark. Just starting off on the right foot, getting some wins under their belt. Because at the end of the day, if they lose tonight, it is just the first game of the year. But start off with a bang and make everyone feel pretty good, I think, heading into next year. So thank you everyone for tuning in. The first official live stream for Blues Digest. We're going to have a bunch more of these, whether it's, we'll figure it out, Mark, maybe, a couple times a week, maybe before a game, after a game, we'll figure it out, whatever you guys prefer as well. Let us know in the chat and the comments, but we're going to do more of these for sure. Mr. Imperfect says Holloway is going to open the scoring for St. Louis, and no live commentary, no watch along. We're gonna let the commentators do that for you guys. Go watch the game. It'll be a lot of fun, but maybe one day we'll do a watch along. Could be a lot of fun. But yeah, let us know how you feel about everything in the comments as usual, and we'll see you guys for some more content tomorrow. Thank you.